I wanted to start with Phil, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Phil was originally supposed to be here today.
Yeah.
Yep. When he went, he was with his family, and it was it was peaceful, but what he did in his lifetime is incredible. I mean, Phil helped change the world, just like we did.
I was hoping that we could play with him again one more time.
Yeah.
So that was my sadness on that one, because I know he wanted to play with us again too.
Was that in the plans?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was.
definitely.
We were kicking it around. In fact, we were gonna get together and kick some songs around tomorrow.
You were.
But it doesn't seem to be at this point. I don't see it. Because we just don't have enough to put a band together right now.
Yeah.
Well, not the three of us. I mean, we'd have to have other musicians join us, and we have
Yeah,
some
and
favorite musicians,
Were you planning to do this next year for the anniversary? Was that
Well,
what
we
you were?
were
Yeah,
just
I
gonna-
was. I was
yeah,
hoping that
we
we
were
could do
just
it for
gonna
the
see-
60th. Would be fun.
We were going to see where it goes, but we
Yeah.
were just going to play the four of us.
Yeah.
And now there's only three of us. And,
Right, now it's different.
Yeah, that's different.
Each of you said in the statements you put out that he changed your life.
Yeah.
In what ways?
Well, I'll start. I'm sort of known in some circles as having developed my own style as a guitarist. And I'm not a blazing lead guitarist. I can play a little bit, but really, what I learned to do was I learned from listening to McCoy Tyner kick around John Coltrane.
Yeah.
Serving him up ideas and stuff like that to springboard off of. Mm-hmm. And Phil turned me on to John Coltrane. And Phil and I had an ongoing conversation about Igor Stravinsky, who, in some regards, he was sort of the father of rock and roll. Huh. That was kind of his approach to things, and what it was that he did and how he did it, all that kind of stuff. Phil and I had an ongoing conversation about that. And modern classical music, all that kind of thing.
Phil turned me on to North Indian classical music, a la Raka Ravi Shankar, Sankar Hussain, and that was a major thing in my life, and of course, Train and all those things. But indigenous Indian music was really a passion of mine, and it had all the odd things in it and so forth, odd time signatures, which kind of worked its way in. But I think we listened to each other over the years. I think this is really important because, listening to somebody you play with and really listening to them and responding and trying to make them really feel good, comfortable, and in the groove, as we say, is really important. So we all had that. It was kind of a love, musical love, bro thing, and it just kind of got out of hand. We just kept it up
But
for
in a good
60
way.
years.
Yeah.
Well, we developed this language that only we spoke, really.
Yeah.
And I would play something that would shade. I could easily shade the passage that we were playing, one direction or another, just by a nuance. And these guys knew what I was talking about.
Yeah.
They knew what I was referring to. Oh, okay, we'll take it that way.
Just like that.
Yeah.
And so this kind of borders on magic, it's the mystical thing, but it was a very spiritual thing, so it was embedded in the music, this spirit. And we all had it. And was it happenstance? Was it luck? Was it fate? We came together.
Yeah.
It just happened. And we didn't really know so much what we were doing. We just knew it really felt good.
Yeah,
and
he
it
taught
was
us basically
really
how to
fun.
be free. That it
He
was
taught you how to be free.
How to be free, how to play free and not have to play in any set, fixed way.
Yeah.
Because he was a very unique bass player.
Yeah.
He certainly didn't play any common style of bass. There was no other style of bass player like him, I don't believe.
When Jerry invited him to join the band, he didn't actually play bass.
No.
When
No, he didn't.
He didn't.
We tested him.
played
We gave him a
trumpet.
Gibson 4-string. Little hard body Gibson 4-string. He mastered that thing in a day.
Did he really?
Yeah, he had it down.
Why? How did he do that?
Well, he's a bright guy.
Yeah.
I'll bet his fingers hurt.
Phil was a classical musician. He read music.
Yeah.
And he was a real musician. I mean, he really knew music. I think maybe more than any of us.
Well, when he was playing, he was visualizing the music that he was playing and the music that we were all playing in color, in notes, on a staff and all that kind of stuff. Just sort of in a free flow kind of visualization of, he was able to see that.
Yeah. Did he have synesthesia? He didn't have that, did he?
Synesthesia.
It's like
Yes, he did.
He did.
He could see colors when he played, absolutely.
Yeah.
He was synesthetic.
He was,
And so was
okay.
Jerry. Jerry was really synesthetic. He could see colors. When we were in Egypt, we went to the Sound and Lights. After we came out of it, he said, the music, wrong color, wrong color. And he used to talk about colors all the time. Yes, he was synesthetic.
Wow. Phil, in his autobiography, described the music that you all made together as some kind of genre-busting rainbow polka dot hybrid mutation.
That was close. That was good close.
That
Yeah.
about sums it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was your own thing.
Right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
But it was all the stuff that we were referencing
Yeah.
when we were playing was American music,
Yes.
the American music tradition. Varying corners speaking up from time to time.
Yeah.
But really, we grew up, listening to all of us listening to the same stuff.
Yeah.
We had a few radio stations out here in the Bay Area where most of us grew up, and we just played the buttons on the radio, I've heard that song maybe one time too many. Let's see what's on the classical station. Nah. Go over to the KDIA.
So there was no blueprint. We didn't have anything really to follow. We had music that we liked a lot,
Yeah.
but we didn't have any music that we could say, okay, we got to play it this way,
Yeah.
or, or it won't be right. We never said that ever. We would do some cover tunes. We did Rolling Stones. I think we did Get Off My Cloud or
Yeah.
whatever it was. But it wasn't important to do it exactly like the record, and we ended up usually playing them much looser, and that was way in our beginning. Eventually, we never had to do that. We would just make up our own songs and go for it right away. But I don't like to think I don't want anybody ever to think that we had some kind of plan for the music,
Right, yeah.
because we didn't. It was looser than that.
It was we were following the muse basically. It was
Or it
leading
was
us
pushing
on.
us around.
Yeah. Bobby, I think it was you who talked about how somehow with the Kennedy Center Honors, finding a way to take Jerry and Pigpen and now Phil and all the band members you've lost into that room. Have you thought about how you guys might do that?
We'll just play it by ear like we always do.
By honoring him right now, by saying thank you right now.
I don't think of you guys as awards people necessarily.
No.
No? So what does this mean to you?
Well, it's a legacy thing for me and us, I think. What we leave behind is really important because, that we care about music and we want music to go on forever and we want our legacy to be heard.
Because this honor to me is not just to the band members, it's also to the audience, our Deadheads. It's to all the people that have really enjoyed our band.
And kept us going.
It's an honor, it's a creative honor for all of us. That's what I like to think of it.
I mean, millions of people really were to blame for all of this.
It's their fault.
They took and ran with it. I mean, once, we just can, all we can do is play.
Yeah.
And play hard and long.
Yeah.
And the rest of it is up to them.
Yeah.
They have to take it where they take it. And they took it further than any body of people, I think, that loved a band, you know, and you really have to really love a band
Yeah.
to be able to do what the Deadheads did, you know. They were our archivists as well.
Yeah. What do you make of all that?
You know, what it is and how we went about doing it, I think might be part of the conversation in music schools
Yeah.
in 300 or 400 years.
Yeah.
I think the Beatles are also going to make that cut, and maybe Bob Dylan, and I'm not sure how many other of the acts that are currently going or have been going in our lifetimes are going to make that cut. And we may or may not be part of that conversation.
I'll see you in
too.
300 years and we'll
Yeah,
talk about it.
if so, you know, that's
Yeah, with
something
nanotechnology.
that's something you can tell your grandkids.
Yeah. It is, you really did kind of defy every basic rule of the music
Pretty much
industry.
every basic rule.
did?
Yes, exactly.
There's none left that we could work on?
It didn't always work. But
No, but it worked remarkably well most of the time.
most of the time,
The music part did. The
Yeah.
business part was always kind of shaky.
Was it?
it was
Yeah.
really hard.
Well, we're not businessmen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
I
not
mean-
businessman, but and also we were running from the law for years. Remember?
I don't know how long that lasted.
We were outlaws, you know. We were doing things that were not
We
lawful.
stole limousines.
Yeah.
So playing music, running from the law, you know, fighting business people, you know,
Yeah.
we weren't business people. We were music people.
Yeah.
And so the business didn't really go well, and but we made our way through all of that
Such an
because
understatement.
it was fun, and we loved each other. We still do, and the music had to be played. It just had to be played. For
It was
some reason.
undeniable.
What was undeniable?
The spirit behind the music.
Yeah.
You know,
You could not ignore it. Pardon me.
Yeah.
You had to. It was there.
had to pick up your instrument and play it because
Yeah.
it had to be done.
And we played it when we were hurt, when rain was in our faces and wind and
Beer bottle.
cold. And we played it through everything, you know.
What do you think that Deadhead audience was responding to?
I think it's a matter of spirit. You know,
Absolutely. And will.
Bobby, you were 16 when you first heard Jerry Garcia playing banjo
Yeah.
in Palo Alto.
Yeah.
What did you hear in that moment?
It was New Year's Eve. I knocked on the door and said, you know, basically he invited us in.
Yeah.
And after a few pleasantries and stuff like that, he said, well, you guys play instruments?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, I got the keys to the front. You want to go up and grab some instruments and we'll sit back here and play. We had enough fun that evening that we decided it was too much fun to walk away from.
Yeah.
We each had an experience like that. Not exactly the same experience, but I saw Jerry and Bobby play at a club called The Tangent.
Right.
And I was totally blown away by Jerry's ability to hold the audience in his hands. He had everybody mesmerized. They couldn't look away, including myself. I was sitting back about 2 rows. Pigpen, who is our original blues singer,
Right.
he was playing a washtub bass, you know, and you were playing guitar. And Hunter was playing guitar too, I believe.
Yeah, I think he, you know,
Something like that. And they put on a great show that night, but Jerry held the light for everybody. He really, and I knew right then that if I ever got to play with him for any length of time, he would be the guy to go with because he was infinite. He had so many ideas to do things. And that week he called me and said, hey, you want to be in a band? I said, sure.
his enthusiasm was real infectious.
Yeah. And you got pulled in.
When I heard they were already the Grateful Dead, they had changed their names from the Warlocks. And when I heard the band, Bill invited me to play, sit in. When I heard the band, whoa! I had never heard music like that before. It was so loud. I like loud.
Yeah.
And so
We met over a bass drum. Remember that? With Sonny Payne?
yeah.
Remember that? He
That's right.
hit that bass drum at the beginning of that song so loud the whole audience jumped like 10 foot off.
Yeah, so
He's
it
playing
was
with
a
Count Basie.
fantastic. We all got turned on to the Grateful Dead in different ways, but we
Yeah.
really got turned on to it. You know what? We got bit.
Yeah.
And once you get bit like that, you
You're
can't
bit.
look back
Yeah.
ever.
You were known for your live performances. Was being in the studio a challenge?
Yeah.
For me, it was.
Yeah.
It was hard.
Because you couldn't recreate that the way you wanted?
No, there was just
Four
none
walls.
None of the feedback that
There's no
that we
human
used-
energy there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No,
did
we were flying, when we were,
Yeah.
when we were on stage. We never were able to do that in the studio for maybe a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
But we sure could do it live. We could sure do it live.
Yeah.
Well, the audience would give us energy. They give us love, and we would play with it.
We turned
and,
that into music.
and we'd
Sort of.
articulate it and,
Yeah.
and give it back to them. Then they'd turn around and give that back to us,
Mm-hmm.
and it was self-perpetuating.
It was a Mobius strip.
Yeah.
You did something really unusual, certainly in rock at that time, which was you created an expectation in the audience that you would evolve and change.
We couldn't help ourselves.
Excellent observation. Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
good.
it's a very good observation. That's interesting.
Because we tried to make we actually did try to make room for evolution and
Yeah,
change.
we did.
In fact, we expected it of ourselves and each other.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I guess somewhere along the line the kids caught on.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it's almost like you taught them what to expect from you. And because in so many bands, the fans fall in love with a certain kind of music and they don't want it to change or
Right.
evolve.
Yeah.
But your audience learned right from the get-go.
Well, they learned that
That was the ride they
we
were
were a
on.
chancy band kind of thing. We opted for chance. Some people like form and so forth,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
to know what they're doing.
yeah.
But that was the opposite.
Yeah.
The idea was to keep our songs open, play with all of our
Create a
mic
new
and-
form right then, right on the spot.
Yeah.
And,
but-
yeah.
Now
Leave
that's
room
the
for
new way.
happy accidents.
Yes.
Happy accidents.
Happy
That's what they call us. Why don't we change our name?
Happy.
Happy accidents. The happy accidents.
Bobby, are you still? Is Jerry still visiting you in dreams?
Yeah,
Yes.
time to time. And also on stage is for that matter. I can hear him crackling away in the
Yeah.
background. I can feel him. Don't go there. Don't. Of course I'm going to go there.
Yeah.
And I'm contrarian a little bit, and and somehow I'll make it stick, and everything will be fine.
Jerry's in my left ear. He deafened me, and it would be a beautiful way to go, but he did it to my left. But I always hear him. All I have to do is listen, and there he is. So I take him with me all the time. He doesn't play all the time. I have to turn him on. Okay.
And then there's that dragon that used to sit on top of his amplifier and just sort of snap and
Yeah, too.
and Pigpen was the guy who pointed that out to me the first time. I think it was 1966 in Vancouver. Check out that dragon on top of Jerry's amplifier. Yeah, he was there.
Yeah. If I have to ask if Jerry has visited you often, Phil hasn't visited you yet, has he?
It's very much the same kind of deal because I owe so much to the stuff that Phil taught me or turned me on to. I'll never get around to it in this lifetime. Tying up all those loose ends but I have so much stuff to get to that I have plenty to work on.
You've said that you view a song as actually a living creature from another dimension that basically flows through an artist.
Yeah.
I had, I really truly believe that. I had a dream not long ago. In the dream, Jerry comes to me and he says, "Listen, I'm going to invite a song in to meet you. I want you to meet this song."
Yeah.
And and then he goes and does that, and the song, the song was like kind of like a great big, sort of ethereal English sheepdog, You know, but it was big, and it, you know, came up and snarfed me, and you know, I batted it around a little bit, you know, and we established a rapport, and then we started singing it. You know, it was a duet. It was like it was something of a jazz duet, and we were the song. You know, we were the critter, and that just really what that dream did was it solidified in me the notion that yes, these characters that we evoke when we sing the songs, and these lines that we play when we play the songs, they're living things. They come and visit our world, and they come through us. And what all we really do, we spend our lives really doing is learning how to let the stuff pass through us.
Yeah.
And just let it be. Let it present itself.
Yeah, we are working in multiple dimensions. That is really true.
Yeah.
Because in physics, now the quantum physics and so forth, the multi-dimensional, multi-world thing. So that's a matter of consciousness. And when we play music, you raise your consciousness.
Yeah.
So there's the ability to slip worlds, as it were, you know, and go into other dimensions, so to speak. And that's what science says. There's multiple dimensions, the many world theories. And I do believe in that, because music was the door, you know, it allowed us to go through to these spaces where we could explore, wherever they are. But we know we went to some place.
Yeah.
And I remember sometimes looking up over my head, I could just swear there was another orchestra playing, another band playing on top of me. I mean, I just knew it.
Yeah.
And I bet you know, Bobby's theory is it was in the harmonics. You mentioned that,
Right, yeah,
that
yeah.
coming together above us.
Yeah, the apex, if you will, the apex where all harmonics fall together,
Yeah.
and all the vibe basically from the audience, it all falls together up here, and we're all addressing this
Yeah.
thing right here. The audience is addressing it, we're addressing it. It's all
Yeah, man.
happening right here.
We can see it, we can hear it. When that spirit came out, we could see the dragon, you know, sliding around out there. And then back in its cage he went and we left. But no, it's really, these are really true things. After the show we would ask each other, did you see that? And many times everybody saw the same thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can't poo-poo that.
But, by the way, Bobby, what happened to the sheepdog song that you and Jerry sang? Did
You know,
it take life?
I'm still chasing that one.
You are,
But
okay.
I have a feeling it'll come around.
When you lost Jerry in '95, did you think the music would go on as successfully as it has?
I didn't think it would, because when Jerry left, that was the end of the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
Period. In my book, that was my feelings.
Yeah.
And there's just no way that you can replace a Jerry Garcia.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just impossible. There's great, wonderful players out there that can sit in, but Jerry had this thing. He took over the whole stage.
Yeah.
He had everybody's attention. He had all the musicians' attention, and we followed him very closely.
Yeah.
He would hold the rhythm down sometimes a lot. It was a way of not ever getting lost when he was on stage. You know, we
But
knew
he
where we
did-
were.
He did offer a bunch of great songs,
Yeah,
Yeah.
tons.
and an approach to the music,
Yeah.
in a way of delivering it that was open-ended, that lent itself to interpretation
Yeah.
on the moment.
Yeah.
And so that much of him really did survive and blossomed really in the years since.
Yeah.
And like I say, that's why I think that what we did, what we've done, and how we've gone about doing it is going to be part of the conversation in music schools in 200 or 300 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, because see, the songs live forever.
Right.
The music lives forever, and many, many bands can play it, and they play it pretty well, as far as I've been told. And that's a brilliant thing, to have the music stay there like that. That's way after we're gone, the music will be out there, I guess. So I'm really happy with that. I think that's a miracle. I mean, what is it in those songs that attracts people so much?
What is it?
What is it? I know I'm asking the question too. What is it? What is it? It's hard to understand.
Well,
All we know is we play our asses off. We believe in it. We put our hearts into it, and our feelings as deep as we can.
I thought it was because we were so beautiful.
It was probably is that too. Yeah.
Good. I'm just glad you think the same.
I think we left enough mystery in the songwriting,
Yeah.
That's
and
true.
in the mode of interpretation,
Yeah.
that it can take on a life of its own, and often does.
That every time you go back to it, you discover something else.
Yeah, it shows us a different facet
It's
of
almost
itself.
like it's a different song.
Yeah.
Yeah, by not being, the idea in the Grateful Dead, we once asked ourselves, do we want to play this music for the rest of our lives? And we go, yeah. Well, we can't blame each other. So there was no blame. For years, it was blameless. And being an experimental band without blame
Yeah.
leads you down that path where it's open. You can do whatever you want as long as no one says no.
Yeah.
As long as you get away with it.
And we got away with it.
Yeah. Do you all intend to keep playing this music in some form or another?
I got no other plans.
No other plans?
Music is forever for us.
Yeah,
We're musicians,
yeah.
really musicians.
I never wanted to do anything else in my life but play music.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to throw my paper out when I was 14, and when I was done with my papers,
love
I'd
music.
pull out my drumsticks and practice on the handlebars. Kids ride without.
We've been doing it since we were kids, and
Yeah.
before with Grateful Dead. When we were.
And
We all
Mickey
had that
too. I'm sure
experience.
we were both fortunate enough that we didn't have to have day jobs,
Yeah.
so to speak.
I gotta
we
say
could
it-
always stay with our music.
Sure beats Buck and Bales.
Beats what, jail?
What'd you say?
Buck and Bales.
Oh, I thought you said jail.
That too.
Well, we've had people come up to say, "You guys are never going to make it. You play too long. You play too loud."
Yeah, Bill Graham asked me what I was going to do when I was 27. He said, "This band has no songs.
good.
You can't sing any of them. You play too long. They all sound the same. Maybe you should." I said, "No, Bill, I'll hold my hand. I think this is a good place to be."
But he kept booking you.
He loved us.
Oh, yeah.
After that little bit, he loved us.
It was. I mean, it's just to think that you basically you didn't have a radio hit until the '80s.
Oh, we had Truckin'. That Truckin' was
Truckin',
what
yes.
they call a turntable hit.
An
It was
FM
number
hit is what I
14.
would call it.
It was number 14 in some city down south that you never heard of.
It made
Truckin'
it to
didn't really
no,
chart.
it made it to #1 on the charts in Turlock, California.
Turlock.
Turlock,
Exactly.
that's right. Turlock.
We had no one go.
You know where Turlock is, don't you?
No one knows what Turlock.
You don't know where Turlock is?
Exactly.
The home of the Grateful Dead hit, Truckin'?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, I know. Made it to
I
number
was
one in
quietly
Turlock 11.
proud.
But it was. I mean, it goes back to that whole thing of like, the rules didn't seem to apply to you guys.
What rules?
No, we didn't play by the rules, and it didn't apply to us.
Yeah.
With Warner Brothers and with everybody else,
Yeah.
there was no concert places to play. We had to send our manager out to go and book places all around the country to play,
Yeah.
and so forth. So we had to seek out the places that we wanted to play,
Yeah.
and there really weren't any places to play. Dance, because we're a dance band.
Yeah.
And dance really had fallen off by that time. There weren't that many dances in San Francisco and most cities.
It was amazing, actually. Over about a 3-month period, we used to be as Mickey said, we were a dance band, and we would show up and play, and people would dance, and then over about a 3-month period, people started sitting down and watching the show.
Yeah,
And,
carousel.
And we had to sort of readjust our approach.
One day they left their pillows at home and they all started dancing. Just like that. All of a sudden, no pillows. They all got up and they started dancing. For what reason we've never figured it out. But
Right.
they sat down for a couple of years and then
Yeah.
they just immediately stood up.
When did the recording phenomenon start?
when they started making good portable cassette recorders.
Yeah.
And they sounded really good. The cassettes were not as bad as you might think.
You look out there from stage and it looked like a forest of trees, a
Forest.
microphone.
Right.
Remember that?
So that sprung up. And so those tapers, yet again, increased the quality of it. They brought bigger machines. Once
Yeah.
we said, okay, they brought, and they put mics in the air, and they
Right.
recorded every ounce of us forever.
So it's out there now.
Our record company said, "You got to put a lid on this."
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And
You weren't worried about piracy.
no,
It was the smartest thing we ever did.
Those cassettes went all over the world.
You went viral before anybody knew what viral was.
right, yeah,
You were so far ahead of your time in that respect,
right.
Yeah.
even if it wasn't by design.
No, it was we were taking the path of least resistance.
Yeah.
We just didn't want
We
to.
we didn't want to bring more cops in
We didn't want to be
watch
cops.
our fans.
Yeah.
What kind of deal is that?
We didn't want to be the ones who said, "No, you can't do
Yeah, we
that."
can't hassle all your audience. You can't put your audience down. They wanted the music. They
Yeah.
craved it. They had to have it.
One of the other, I don't know if you could call it an innovation, but you were one of the first bands that had 2 drummers. Where did that come from?
He had the chops of amazing chops, right,
Yeah.
on drum, basic drums. And I saw him play them, and I went, God, I got to learn that. So I made him teach me that. I didn't make him, but he taught me all the basics that he knew and stuff. And pretty soon I realized, God, why don't 2 people could be doing this?
Yeah.
And then when we started getting in sync and started really working out, the drum parts, I've been told, have been some of the most far out parts of the evening.
Yeah.
When we used to use the big drums all the time and really got into it. It was explosive. It totally took you from your seat. You couldn't sit there and listen to this. And it was also really fun.
Yeah.
I look over at him and he'd be sweating his ass off and just pounding on those drums, and he'd be looking over at me and I'd be whatever.
I might add that Bill taught me to rock and roll. So,
I did.
payback.
Okay,
You know,
payback.
he paid me. So we're even.
And I might add that these guys both have completely different feels about them.
Yeah.
You know, Billy's all about lilt, and Mickey's all about precision, and it's like they shouldn't fit together.
It's sort of like sewing
No,
with
it's
a
a-
needle that's not big enough.
They shouldn't fit together, but then rock and roll itself, which is basically shuffle against straight, you
Yeah.
know, if you
If you really
view-
listen back to the older stuff, it's that.
it's shuffle against
It really
straight.
is a
It was
shuffle.
invented by Johnny Johnson, Chuck Berry's piano player, and it's shuffle against straight, and that shouldn't work either.
Yeah.
But it does, and it works like
Because
crazy
it colors
because
the feeling. It makes a type of feeling.
there's a
that's really
slop
great.
factor in there
Yeah.
that really can rock back and forth. That's why they call it rock and roll.
Right.
And if you listen really closely to the old records, you'll notice that drummer isn't playing straight 16ths or straight 8s. He's playing a bit of a dotted feeling there. Right, but it doesn't influence the whole band. It's just the way he's feeling it, and then the backbeat and the foot are the same.
Yeah.
The bass player generally is playing the 1 and the 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you hear that on stage, Bobby, what do you do with that?
Well, you decide which way you're going to go with it. You decide which way is on the evening. You decide which one, whether you're going to go with the lilt or you're going to go with the mechanically precise feel, and then you lean into that.
Right. And
Yeah.
the real art form is to not necessarily go with one or the other, but to synthesize both of them as a third feeling.
Yeah.
And that's the one you go with.
I think both. I think you're absolutely right. I think both.
Yeah.
You trade, boom, bam, and that's how the music does this.
And meanwhile your other bandmates are gonna hear what you're up to, and they're gonna go one way or the other. And so it's gonna be different every night.
And it's like a tractor beam when we're on and we're playing.
Good one.
It
I love
sucks
that.
all of these guitar heroes into the into our groove.
I think Phil's line was that when it's all working, you open a valve.
Yeah, you could look at that metaphor because it just pours out, you know. And then when that valve is shut, when we play the songs, and if we don't have the right spirit, that valve doesn't open. So the thing about Grateful Dead music, you have to approach it with the spirit that's embedded in all of us. And if one of us doesn't comes to the stage and doesn't have that spirit, everybody can feel it. And the Grateful Dead music doesn't happen. And so we take that as a big responsibility as best we can, as crazy, on the edge guys, to bring to the Grateful Dead the best we could bring, at least most of the time.